Hi there, welcome to my kitchen. This is my happy place, at least most of the time, but it is also the place that requires the most time and effort to upkeep, and if I'm being honest, sometimes it is my biggest source of overwhelm. And if you have ADHD, you probably know what I'm talking about. There are so many barriers to cooking for people with ADHD, from battling the overstimulation that can come from having a messy kitchen to just figuring out what it is you want to eat in the first place. And I plan on doing a whole video covering the barriers to cooking a little later on this month, so if that sounds helpful for you, definitely subscribe. But in this video, I want to cover the kitchen gadgets that I use every day that are completely indispensable. These kitchen tools make cooking so much easier and less overwhelming, and are the whole reason why I can say that the kitchen is my happy place. So let's get into it. Kitchen gadget number one is my Instant Pot. I absolutely love these things, and the truth is that if I had to get rid of every single thing in my kitchen and just keep one tool, this would be it. I would even sadly get rid of this beautiful stove behind me if I could only have one thing. And the reason for that is that not only does an Instant Pot cook your food so much faster, but it also turns itself off, which means that if I forget about it, it's not gonna burn my food. And once it's done cooking, it switches over to a keep warm setting, which means that whenever I'm ready to get my food out, it is hot and waiting for me. If you have ADHD, this can be really game changing because it means that you can throw something in your Instant Pot, leave the house, go to the gym, go run errands, and when you come back, not only is your food not burnt, but it is hot and waiting for you. Now, when I recommend Instant Pots to my clients, a lot of them feel really overwhelmed in terms of how to use them. So I did make an Instant Pot tutorial where it's just a no-nonsense guide to do the very basics. And so if you have an Instant Pot or you've been thinking about one, but you feel overwhelmed, definitely check out that video. Kitchen tool number two is related, and that is having multiple Instant Pot liners. When you buy an Instant Pot, it is going to come with one of these, but I highly recommend people buy more than one. And the reason for that is because a big barrier to cooking is the cleanup afterwards. And so what's nice about having multiple Instant Pot liners is that you can just store your food directly in this. So you don't have to wash anything the day that you're cooking. And this makes a huge difference for people who feel like cleaning up the mess is a big part of why they don't get in the kitchen in the first place. If you watched my recent meal prep body doubling video, you will have noticed that I own 4 of these. Kitchen tool number 3 is a smart oven or a toaster oven that has regular baking functions. This is the tool that I didn't know that I needed. It is not something I would have purchased for myself. It was a gift. And honestly, having this thing has been totally life-changing. And the reason for that is because just like with the Instant Pot, I can set something in there. It can bake just like something in my oven would bake, but it is on a timer and it will turn itself off. So again, it is something that takes the stress out of cooking, and it prevents me from burning my food if I get caught up into something else and I forget that I'm cooking. And if you have the space for it, it's really helpful when it comes to meal prep because you can have 2 different things cooking at 2 different temperatures, and that means that you can make your meal prep a lot more efficient. I will link the smart oven that I have below, and what's nice about something like this is that it can do a lot of different things. So this thing is an air fryer, a dehydrator, a regular oven, a toaster, and you can tell by how absolutely disgusting and filthy mine is that it gets a lot of use. Kitchen gadget number 4 is an electric tea kettle. And the reason why I love this so much is that it also turns itself off. Are you guys sensing a theme here? Prior to getting my first electric kettle, I would cook everything on the stove, and let me tell you, I ruined many a pot and many a kettle putting on water and then forgetting about it and leaving the house. So anytime that you can invest in a product that is going to reduce the stress of having to remember to take it off, or to reduce the likelihood that you're going to burn something or waste something or ruin something, is going to be helpful not only in terms of your kitchen workflow, but also in terms of the amount of stress and overwhelm you feel when it comes to cooking or making things for yourself. And a little side benefit of these things is that most of these smaller appliances, because of their size, they are actually a lot more energy efficient than the larger version of these appliances. The next kitchen gadget isn't actually a kitchen gadget at all. It is parchment paper. Now, as I have mentioned multiple times in this video, a huge barrier to cooking is the cleanup afterwards, and this guy saves me a lot of that. So every time that I'm cooking, I line all of my baking racks and baking sheets with parchment paper, which means that when I'm done cooking, I don't have to scrub a gross, sticky, baked on pan. I just have to throw the parchment paper away and I can put my pan back, which means that I rarely ever have to wash my pans. Now, if you want to invest in something that is more reusable and not single use like parchment paper, you can always go for a silicone baking sheet. I don't personally use that because, again, I really don't want to have to wash anything extra. But a silicone baking sheet is much easier to wash than your pan. Next up, we have super cubes. These are essentially really large silicone ice cube trays. And what's really nice about them is they come in measured portions. So this one is a 2-cup measured portion, but you can get these in a variety of different measurements. I initially invested in these when I was pregnant and I was doing a lot of postpartum meal prepping in advance. And I found these to be so easy to use and so helpful. So when you make a big batch of something, all you have to do is put your food into these cubes, put them in the freezer, and then once they are frozen, you can just pop them out. And because they are in a square shape, they are really easy to store away in freezer bags. And the nice thing about this is that if you want to have something from your freezer stash, you can pull out specifically the one portion that you're going to eat and you don't have to thaw the entire batch. So if you like the idea of batch prepping, but you also need a lot more variety in the meals you eat during the week, and you find that you are often getting bored of the meal that you prepped by the end of the week, you can just put the extra servings in something like this and stick them in the freezer so you have an entire stash of different meals to pull on when you're finding that you're getting a little bit bored of what you've made. So something like this can help you cut down on food waste a lot. And my last indispensable kitchen gadget is a backup timer. Yes, the idea of setting an alarm is great, but anybody with ADHD knows that setting an alarm doesn't mean that you're going to listen to the alarm. It is really easy to see that alarm and tell yourself, oh, I'll just finish this thing real quick. It's going to take 2 minutes and then I'll go get it. And then 2 minutes goes by and you've gotten sucked into something else. And then half an hour goes by and you have a burnt mess in your oven. So you have one timer that acts kind of as a warning sign to start wrapping up what you're doing. And the second timer is the one that you just really don't ignore. You just get your butt up and you deal with whatever you're going to deal with, or else you're going to have a disaster on your hands. Now there's one more kitchen gadget that I would really like to mention here as an honorable mention. It's not going in the main list because it is not feasible for everybody who doesn't have one of these to get one, but that is a dishwasher. If you are in a position to invest in one, I highly recommend doing that. For the first couple of years that I lived in this house, we didn't have one, and keeping up with dishes was a constant ongoing battle. And if I'm being totally honest, it really led to me cooking less. My husband and I had planned to get a dishwasher when we finally got around to replacing the cabinets in our house. But when I found out that I was pregnant, I said enough is enough. We just need to cram one in here. Who cares how ugly it is? So we just bought this dishwasher for like $500, sawed off part of our cabinets and shoved it in there. And honestly, it has been absolutely life-changing. I do not know how I went so long without one. So if you don't have a dishwasher, but you are one of the few people who has the ability to invest in one, especially if your kitchen is perpetually dirty and you find that mess is a barrier to getting in the kitchen and preparing meals, I highly recommend you just bite the bullet and do it. So those are my absolutely indispensable kitchen tools. Let me know if there are other tools that you guys use that are really helpful that I didn't list here, because I'd love to have a list going for folks so that they can get an idea of what things might be helpful for their specific situation. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.